Hey guys, it's Melanie. Welcome back to another candle review. In this video, we are going to tackle Homeworx Sticky Bread Pudding. And in full disclosure, before we even get into the review, I do want to let you guys know that this particular one, as well as the tiramisu candle, were recently sent to me as PR items, meaning I did not purchase them. I am a Homeworx affiliate, and from time to time they will occasionally send us a couple of candles as PR that we can share our thoughts with you guys. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there before getting into the review. That being said, all opinions are still my own. I will link where you can purchase this candle in the description box, as well as a discount code, which actually should work with the sale that is currently happening over at Homeworx.Shop. That'll save you an extra 10% off your order of $40 or more. You should also actually be able to use your rewards. I believe you can use your rewards, but I know for sure that the affiliate discount codes are supposed to be working. So if that helps you save a little bit of money, definitely take that route. So the information, once again, for everything will be in the description box below the video. But let's go ahead and get into sticky bread pudding. So this is actually not the first time that Homeworx has released this particular scent. I think the very first time it came out was probably in 2020. It was featured in the clear, like plaid embossed style jar. If any of you guys have been with Homeworx for any amount of time, you probably know which jar I'm referencing. There was no spray on the inside of the jar. It was just clear. And yeah, so that was the first time that I think sticky bread pudding came out. I don't remember what kind of reception it got back then. Oddly enough, I didn't pick it up. I'm not sure why. I think maybe the caramel note honestly scared me off back then. And when I saw that that this one was coming my way, I was like, oh, it does have caramel. If you're new here, as much as I love gourmand scents, caramel and maple, especially to my nose, just come across as really cloying a lot of times. So I'm really hesitant at personally paying for caramel scented candles, as I just don't tend to favor them. So I guess it's a good thing that Homeworx will send these out sometimes, because the thing is, like, I actually think that the caramel that's in here is a little bit more bearable. But I do find this to actually be a really interesting scent. So stay tuned to my thoughts here after I give you guys the actual fragrance notes as to what I get from this predominantly, because it really wasn't what I was expecting necessarily. So sticky bread pudding. If you have ever had bread pudding, you know that it is a pretty easy but delicious dessert option to make. Basically, if you have, you know, some bread that is kind of past its prime in terms of, you know, making sandwiches with it, I'm talking, you know, like sourdough, you know, not like the white mush bread. I don't even know if you could make bread pudding with mush bread, but anyway, if you have a nice crusty loaf of bread that is no longer really palatable as sandwich material, you can just cut that bread up, put it in a bowl with a delicious eggy custard, add some, you know, vanilla extract in there, maybe toss in some raisins if you can stand raisins, but you can also use other dried fruit like craisins, if you will, dried cranberries. And it's just a really great way to get a little bit more life out of some bread that you would have otherwise maybe chucked into the garbage. You can make a dessert out of it. So typically bread pudding to me has a nice, sweet, custardy, not like dry texture to it. I like my bread pudding to have like quite a bit of that custard in it. But it's just a really yummy dessert option. So with that being said, let's see what the fragrance notes here are, and then I'm gonna tell you what I smell in this one. Okay, so the notes are caramel, cinnamon, vanilla bean, and spiced butter. Oddly enough, there's nothing in this description about bread or raisins, although looking at the picture, I don't really see any raisins in there, so I don't know. Do you put raisins in your bread pudding? I do. I also put raisins in my oatmeal. I love raisins. I think they get a bad rap. Anyway, so what do I smell here? First of all, this is coming across as borderline savory to my nose. So it's not quite as sweet as I was expecting it to be, especially since the caramel is the first fragrance note that's mentioned here. As someone who does not personally enjoy caramel on any kind of regular basis, I find it odd that the caramel that is present in here, I can smell it. It's not an overly sweet caramel. There is definitely cinnamon present here, but it is not a overly cinnamon heavy fragrance. I do smell a really nice vanilla bean for sure, but again, it's not a really sweet vanilla. And I do smell a richness or a decadence, if you will, that is probably more so coming from that spiced butter than any type of like eggy custard, which is how I'm used to making bread pudding, is with like an egg custard. It really does smell more of like a rich butteriness for sure. And there is a little bit of a spice to that butter note. I think that's probably coming from that cinnamon, but I think there might also be a touch of nutmeg in here, which again can definitely lean more dessert or savory. Like I have had nutmeg in a lot of savory dishes before, and I think it works either way, but I do get some nutmeg in here for sure. But this is not an overly sweet scent. Personally, I would prefer just a touch more sweetness to this one. If this was a candle that I, for example, purchased myself, I think I would be just a touch disappointed in it personally, because again, for me, bread pudding is a dessert option usually. I have never made a savory bread pudding, and I don't know, is that a thing? Like, am I just not aware of the fact that bread pudding can be savory? I've honestly always thought of it as a dessert option, and in my mind, dessert means sweet, right? Like it's a treat after dinner that has some sugar in it, kind of, you know, lifts your mood after maybe eating a bunch of healthy things at dinner, like spinach, salad, things like that. But yeah, this isn't a very sweet scent. It comes across as almost borderline savory to my nose. That being said, have I still enjoyed it? I think it's still an enjoyable scent, but I have to admit that I've been burning it alongside some of my other fall candles. So for example, I was burning this one in the kitchen with the very, very last little bit of my Autumn Pumpkin Luxe candle. I feel like there is just a touch of like sweetness in that one from the pumpkin notes that are in there that added just a little bit of sweetness to the sticky bread pudding that I think it honestly kind of needs. I have also paired this with Great Pumpkin from Kringle. That's a good combination together. Again, I feel like that sweetness from the Great Pumpkin made this a little bit more, this sticky bread pudding a little bit more enjoyable to my nose. Just sitting here with nothing else being lit in the vicinity, this just smells like a just kind of a slightly savory dish. Definitely a gourmand in that respect, but I'm not getting any type of like bread note from this. I'm not getting a lot of sweetness from this. And it's just, it's a very interesting take for me on a bread pudding. I am very, very curious to see what some of you have thought of this one. If you purchased this one and you've had a chance to stick your nose in it, or better yet, light it up, Definitely let us know what you smell in this one. I'm, again, very, very curious to see what other people's thoughts are for sure. Now, in terms of strength and throw, this one's actually doing quite well. Maybe a little bit too well, to be honest, because it doesn't have that sweetness that I'm really, honestly, personally kind of craving. I wish this was just a touch lighter so that some of the other scents I'm burning alongside could, you know, maybe take over a little bit more. I would put the strength of this one at like a solid 7, 7.5. It's performing quite well for a Homeworx. The typical Homeworx range has been somewhere between a 6 and a 7, so this is a step up from the norm. Again, I have not noticed across the board improvements, so if you're one of those people that's waiting for me to report on that, there are still some candles that are coming across a little bit lighter in their strength and throw, so you know, I can't tell you quite yet that everything has improved across the board, but I can tell you this one here has a pretty solid strength and a pretty solid throw. I would put the throw at about a 7 as well. It certainly fills the area where I'm burning it. It does start to travel outside of that area. When I've had this in the kitchen, I could smell it all the way in this front entryway here. And that is definitely a good distance for a fragrance to travel, at least in my house with the larger ceilings, so, or taller ceilings, if you will. But overall, I'm still gonna go ahead and give this one a thumbs up. I can't give it 2 thumbs up just because it's not really the type of bread pudding that I personally actually enjoy eating. But that being said, I think it's a more interesting take on a bread pudding. And if you don't like crazy sweet fragrances, but you want to try a gourmand from Homeworx, I think this is one that is worth checking out for sure. So as always, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. You know, hopefully you have something maybe a little bit different to share, but to my nose, this is far more savory than I would prefer it to be. Thank you for taking the time to watch this review. Please give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful. Obviously subscribe if you're new. I appreciate you being here, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. Toodaloo.